My sister-in-law believes that daughters should be raised in affluence. I agree with this view. But it should not be just giving money freely. After listening to my thoughts, my elder brother strongly agreed and gave up his original idea. But later, my niece accidentally got pregnant because of a small amount of petty gain from others. After being abandoned, she stabbed me to death with a random stabbing. I was reborn on the day when my sister-in-law said that daughters should be raised in affluence. My sister-in-law said, "Isn't it just a pencil case for 180 won? Buy it." I nodded, yes. Daughters should be raised in affluence. Buy it. This time, I want to see what kind of person your daughter raised in affluence is. 1. I want this pencil case. My niece pulled my elder brother's hand and pointed at the pink pencil case in front of her. My elder brother picked it up and wanted to go and pay. When I saw the price was 180. Why is this pencil case so expensive? I hurriedly stopped him. Brother, this is 180. My elder brother was obviously stunned for a moment too. What is this thing so expensive? Is it inlaid with gold? Yes. Those who don't know might think it's the Imperial Jade liquid wine. 180 yuan a cup. My niece blinked and looked at my elder brother. Dad, I want this. My sister-in-law rushed over and snatched the pencil case. Buy it. Isn't it just a pencil case? Our family is not short of this little money. Girls have to be raised in affluence. She looked at me proudly. Your sister-in-law is right. Right? My family raised me in affluence since I was a child. Look how good and happy my life is now. Her disdainful eyes glanced at me. You probably weren't raised in affluence when you were young. Look at what you are wearing. How shabby. Those who don't know might think your elder brother is mistreating you. My sister-in-law's words really stunned me for a moment. But I didn't refute because I was reborn. In my previous life. She also said this to me. As a girl who is good at arguing, I immediately retorted. And I solemnly told her that raising in affluence is not just being rich in money. More importantly, it is spiritual abundance and support. Having correct values. Bravely expressing oneself. Moreover, my elder brother and sister-in-law are in average conditions and should not consume things beyond their ability. This is not raising in affluence at all. Instead, it is pretending to be rich. My elder brother was immediately infected by my impassioned words. He decisively put down that expensive pencil case. After that, he no longer bought overly expensive things for my niece. At first, my elder brother was very grateful for my words and often used these words to educate my niece. But later, my niece accidentally got pregnant with someone's child because of a small amount of petty gain given by others. Their whole family resented me. If you hadn't stopped us from raising our daughter in affluence at the beginning, how could my daughter be deceived because of such a small thing? You just don't want us to be well. You yourself were not raised in affluence. After being in the rain, you still want to tear up other people's umbrellas. In the end, that person left and abandoned my niece. My niece was completely disheartened and stabbed me to death randomly. My elder brother and sister-in-law even helped her deal with my body together. The cold feeling of excessive blood loss is still fresh in my memory. I stared blankly at the three people in front of me, full of heartache. In this life, I will definitely not stop you from raising your daughter in affluence again. I want to see how promising your daughter raised in affluence can be. My elder brother looked at me awkwardly. Isn't this a bit too expensive? I looked at my sister-in-law. She was wearing an exquisite little skirt and was covered with jewelry all over. The manicure was also a newly done style. I suddenly felt wronged. Brother, I think what sister-in-law said is right. I was not raised in affluence. Look at me. I don't have a decent piece of jewelry on me. If I could do it again. I also want to be raised in affluence. So this time we can trawl my niece. Girls have to be raised in affluence. As for whether it is expensive or not, what does it have to do with me? It's not my money that is spent. My sister-in-law touched my niece's head. Quinn, is there anything else you like? Buy it all. She took a few not cheap notebooks and pens again. My elder brother went to pay with a black face. In total, it was 250. This number is also very realistic. No one would spend so much money on these junk things. My niece happily twirled around holding her new stationery. My sister-in-law looked at her. Quinn, do you want to eat steak? My niece excitedly nodded. Yes. My elder brother followed behind them sighing. My sister-in-law looked at me defensively. We are going to eat steak. Do you want to eat too? I was stunned. This is not planning to include me. I was just about to say something. My sister-in-law immediately said, "You are so old. Don't rely on your elder brother. Children who are not raised in affluence are like this. They want to take advantage of everything." I was directly stunned. Can this be related? Having a meal is taking advantage? Forget it. Why bother with her? I awkwardly stepped back. You eat. You eat. I still have something to do. 2. When I went to their house again, I was afraid that they would say I was taking advantage. So I specially bought some fruits downstairs. When I carried them up, my niece enthusiastically took the bag from my hand and immediately started rummaging through it. She threw the dragon fruits, mangoes, and oranges in the bag onto the ground one by one. Seeing that there was nothing else, she stood there and cried. I stood there in a daze. I didn't provoke her either. My sister-in-law quickly ran out of the kitchen. She hugged my niece. Quinn, tell Mom. What's wrong? My niece pointed at me and cried. Aunt didn't buy me cherries. My head was full of question marks. I am not willing to eat them myself. And you want me to buy them for you? How can you think so beautifully? My sister-in-law got angry at me. What do you mean? Why didn't you buy cherries for Quinn? I was full of shock. Is there any reason? Why should I buy cherries? My sister-in-law shamelessly said, because my daughter wants to eat them. I was really speechless. Then why don't you buy cherries for me? I also want to eat them. She looked at me like looking at a fool. What does it have to do with me? Why should I buy them for you? I nodded and pointed at my niece. Yes. Then what does she have to do with me? Why should I buy them? My sister-in-law was so angry that she couldn't say anything. And she started to bring out that set of fallacies again. Sure enough, those who are not raised in affluence are not willing to buy some cherries for their own nieces. Bringing such a little junk thing and coming to visit. Who are you trying to embarrass? I nodded and smiled. Your family raises your child in affluence. But for just a little cherries, you still have to ask others for them. Isn't it embarrassing? To put it bluntly, isn't it just being reluctant to spend money on children? If you are reluctant to spend money, then what's the point of pretending to raise in affluence? Hearing these words, my niece pulled on my sister-in-law's clothes corner and said a grieved lie. Mom, is what Aunt said true? Do you not want to buy cherries for me either? And then she was about to cry again. My sister-in-law's face turned livid. What are you eating? I haven't eaten yet. And you want to eat. So it's just wanting to spend my money to buy cherries to satisfy your own greed. I won't let you succeed. I hurriedly pulled my sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, how can you say that? Girls have to be raised in affluence. Isn't it just a small cherry? You and my elder brother can afford it too. I winked at my niece, and she started rolling on the ground and crying loudly. I want to eat cherries. I just want to eat cherries. A noise made my elder brother come out of the kitchen too. He looked at his little niece affectionately and held her in his arms. Good Quinn. Don't cry. Dad will buy whatever you want to eat. Mom, look at me. This dress is so beautiful. My sister-in-law also rarely showed a better expression. Okay. As long as you like it. She looked at the designer, then pack it up for me. How much is it? The designer looked at my sister-in-law enthusiastically. Madam, it's 38,000 in total. How would you like to pay? My sister-in-law's eyes almost popped out. How much? How much did you say? The designer gently repeated it again. It's 38,000 in total. My sister-in-law looked at the dress in front of her and then at my niece. Just one dress. How could it be so expensive? Don't deceive me. The designer took out the manuscript and the revised drafts many times and showed them to my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law still didn't want to believe it. Isn't it just a few pictures? Is it worth this price? The designer directly called out the store's surveillance video. Madame, you can take a look. This is the surveillance video of your child coming to my store many times to discuss the clothing details and modification plans with me. Every time it is custom made. There is dedicated service for each person. My sister-in-law stared blankly at my niece. Quinn, is this true? My niece nodded happily. Yes. Mom, their service is very good. My classmates also want to come to the store to order clothes after hearing about it. Mom, pay quickly. My sister-in-law was stunned. She took out the packed clothes and started picking on the flaws on the clothes. Look at this thread. Look. Here is not very flat either. And here. The designer frowned. Madame. What do you mean? All our clothes here are custom made by hand. Every stitch and thread is sewn by our own hands. If you are not satisfied with anywhere, we can continue to modify it until you are satisfied. My sister-in-law turned her head away. Your stuff is defective. You still want $38,000 from me. Do you think I am a fool? The designer's face was a bit ugly. It's no wonder she was angry when the treasure she worked hard to make was called defective. Madam, we have designed this haute couture dress completely according to your daughter's requirements. We do not support returns or exchanges here. If you are not satisfied, we can modify it until you are satisfied. My sister-in-law still kept a straight face. I just don't want your junk thing. What can you do? The designer's face turned livid. Madam, if you insist on not wanting it, you need to pay half of the cost as liquidated damages. After hearing this, my sister-in-law jumped up in anger. What? If I don't want it, I still have to pay liquidated damages. That is to say, I get nothing and still have to pay almost $20,000. Why don't you just rob me? The designer called out the contract. On it was exactly my niece's and one's own handwriting signature and my sister-in-law's seal. Now there will be a good show. Sister-in-law, didn't you just dislike this store for being small and not good? Why can't you even afford the money for a dress now? Is it that you just don't want to buy it for Quinn? Girls have to be raised in affluence. Have you forgotten? My niece also looked at my sister-in-law pitifully. Mom, don't you want to buy it for me? My sister-in-law's face was red and white in patches. Mom didn't not want to buy it for you. It's just that this is too expensive. My niece hung her head, but everyone else has a small formal dress. Only I don't. This doesn't seem like raising in affluence. It's not that you give whatever is asked for. Instead, it feels quite competitive. The designer spoke again to remind. Madame, would you like to pay the compensation or the payment for the goods? My sister-in-law pulled my niece and was about to walk out. Several bodyguards instantly blocked the door. My sister-in-law quickly retreated back to the store. What are you doing? The designer smiled. Of course it's to prevent people like you from running away without paying. In the end, my sister-in-law paid the money in a dejected manner, and left with that haute couture dress. As soon as she walked out, she sent me a WeChat message and scolded me angrily. You just don't like us on purpose. You deliberately spent your elder brother's money. Right? You are so scheming. I don't know how your elder brother has a sister like you. You must have deliberately found such an expensive store for us. Are you taking kickbacks? Right? Do you think you can get 10,000 yuan for this order? You are so crazy to earn money from your family members. I directly set it to do not disturb. Let her scold as much as she wants. Anyway, as long as I don't become the sucker. I heard that this small formal dress made my niece shine brightly, but it made my elder brother and them live frugally for several months. Until the end of the year. My elder brother and sister-in-law didn't give me a good look. And I also had some peace. Before long, my niece called me crying, Bant, come and save me quickly. Mom not only won't change to a big house for me, but also wants to sell my favorite small formal dress. I almost laughed out loud. What kind of crazy operation is this again? It seems there will be a good show again. I rushed to their house quickly. My niece hugged that small formal dress tightly and wouldn't let go. This is mine. Why are you handling it? My sister-in-law scolded. The money for this one broken thing of yours is more than 3 months' salary of mom and dad. Because of this, our family can't even afford to eat. My niece looked at her and shouted, so what? Didn't you eat and drink as usual? No one in our family starved to death. This little ingrate is right. My sister-in-law was so angry that she couldn't do anything. Do you want to starve mom and dad to death? Quickly bring over your broken thing. Mom will see if it can be sold as second-hand. Maybe it can still be worth more than 10,000 yuan. My niece puffed up her cheeks angrily. No. Don't even think about it. How could I have a mom like you? Didn't you say you would raise me in affluence? You are not willing to spend such a little money for me. What kind of good mom are you? She pointed at my sister-in-law and shouted, and our house is really too small. Either my classmates live in small villas or in large luxury flats. Why don't you work hard? I am so disappointed in you. I really want to applaud her. That's so right. Don't blame the road for your own incompetence. Ask yourself if you are working hard enough. My sister-in-law slammed the cup on the table to the ground. Quinn, I am your mom. How can you talk to me like this? Did you read books for nothing? Your dad and I work hard to earn money to support you and raise you. We buy whatever you ask for. And this is how you repay mom and dad? My niece covered her ears and shouted, you are talking nonsense. You didn't buy me the small leather shoes I wanted. And there are many things that you didn't buy for me either. You and my dad are definitely not working hard enough. Otherwise, why are we still living in this small and shabby house instead of living in a villa? I don't care. I want to live in a villa too. My sister-in-law gave her a hard slap. I think you are like a villa. You are not old but have quite big desires. Because of you. Your mom hasn't gone shopping or bought new clothes for several months. My niece spouted her mouth high. I am your daughter. It's natural for you to spend money on me. You are so old, and don't need to buy so many things at all. You should leave all the money for me to spend. I really don't know how my sister-in-law feels. Being talked to like this by her own biological daughter. She was so angry that tears kept falling. Go away. I don't have a child like you. My niece really took her small skirt and slammed the door and left. When my elder brother came back at night, my niece still hadn't come home. This made my elder brother extremely worried and he searched all over the city. Finally, he found my niece at a classmate's house. When my elder brother and sister-in-law went to pick her up, she still looked unhappy. Didn't you say you don't have a child like me? Then I don't want you either. I will be the daughter of this family from now on. You can go back. My elder brother glared at my sister-in-law hard and said gently to my niece, what mom said doesn't count. Dad wants Quinn. Quinn, be good. Come home with dad. My niece didn't move at all. I don't want to go back. Our family doesn't have a big villa. I want to live in a big villa too. My elder brother continued to coax her. Good daughter. Dad will work hard to earn money and buy you a big villa. Okay. After coaxing for almost half an hour, my niece agreed to go back with them. As soon as they got home, my elder brother scolded my sister-in-law harshly. The small skirt has already been bought. What are you still fussing about? At the beginning, didn't you insist on letting our daughter wear something high-end? Now you are reluctant to spend money again. My daughter is fine today. What if something happens to her? Can you take responsibility for this? You are so stingy about buying a piece of clothing for your daughter. After being married for so many years, how much money have you spent on doing nails? Why don't you think about this? And your skirts. The closet is full of them. And your jewelry is always replaced with new ones. Why don't you reflect on yourself? My sister-in-law was so wronged that she couldn't say a word and tears fell down. My elder brother became even angrier when he saw this. You are crying. Look at the slap mark on Quinn's face. No matter what. You can't hit a child. My sister-in-law directly got up and went into the room to pack her luggage. I am wrong everywhere. Everything is my fault. Okay? I won't stay here anymore. I can leave. Right. I was just about to hand the suitcase to my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law said, "You don't need to stop me." I didn't want to stop you. I leaned against the door frame. "Where can you go in the middle of the night?" My sister-in-law shouted at me. "None of your business." I shrugged. She slowly squatted on the ground and hugged her shoulders and cried. Naturally, she couldn't go anywhere. Her family lies far away in the mountains. It's not easy to leave even if she wants to. From then on, my sister-in-law didn't care about beauty anymore. To be exact, she didn't have money to be beautiful, because all the money was used by my elder brother to raise their daughter in affluence. Isn't this what my sister-in-law advocated at the beginning? How good. 5. After not getting involved in their family's affairs, I devoted myself to work. Gradually, I became a team leader from a small team member. The work location also changed. I was directly transferred abroad. I could only come back once every few years. This time, the headquarters transferred me back to the country. I am in charge of the entire East Asia region. My niece has also successfully entered college. When I went back, she was on summer vacation. This time, I brought cherries and some expensive fruits to visit my elder brother and them. It was my sister-in-law who opened the door. In just less than 10 years, she has aged a lot. There are many wrinkles on her face and her figure has also become out of shape. She was wearing a loose t-shirt that didn't fit well and a pair of flowery shorts. She didn't have a decent piece of jewelry on her. I remember at this time in my previous life, although there were some signs of age on her face. But overall, she was still well maintained. As a woman in her 40s, she looked like she was in her 30s. Although she had some flesh on her body, she was still charming, and she was covered with gold jewelry. I didn't expect the change to be so great. After my niece came back, she didn't find the expensive fruits on the table strange. She was even complaining, "Why are these again? I thought there would be something different." Looking at her bag, accessories and overall dressing, I immediately understood. The money in their family is now all spent on my niece. She glanced at my dressing and immediately took me excitedly to her bedroom. She couldn't wait to open the closet. There were at least 10 or more luxury bags in it. There were many fashion show pieces of the current season in the closet. This closet of bags could buy an ordinary car without any problem. As a person with a fairly good salary, I am not willing to spend so much money. People's desires are always getting bigger and bigger. My niece is also like this. She pulled me and said, "Aunt, what do you think of that latest bag from Hermes? I like it so much." I thought about that latest bag. It seems to be a bag for noble ladies. I looked at her defensively. "If you like it, ask your dad to buy it for you." She pouted. "My dad is not willing. Such an expensive bag. No one would be willing. After all, it's not like they are rich." I comforted her symbolically a few words. When she saw that she couldn't get anything from me, she walked away. When her vacation ended, I saw her carrying that latest bag, thinking that my elder brother bought it for her. I didn't think much about it. After all, for raising in affluence, so many bags have been bought. One more is not a big deal. Before long, she called me to borrow money. She asked for 150,000 yuan as soon as she opened her mouth. I was directly stunned. "Quinn, what do you need so much money for?" She was hesitant and didn't speak on the other end. I tentatively asked, "Quinn, didn't you do something bad?" This time she spoke. "No. Aunt, can you lend it to me first? I will pay you back soon." I then asked her, "Why do you need so much money?" She was silent for a while and then said, "Really nothing. I will pay you back soon." I am not stupid. She is a college student. How could she pay back so much money so quickly? I paused. "Quinn, this amount is not small. You'd better tell your dad. I don't have money. Even if I did, I couldn't give it to you in grades to waste." I thought this matter was over. In less than half a month, I received a strange call. "Paisley, Pay back the money quickly. If you don't pay back the money, I will squat in front of your house and wait for you. Who is this person? So strange. I directly hung up the phone. In the next few days, there were different harassing calls every day asking me to pay back the money. Even on my car window, there were things asking me to pay back the money. The tires were also punctured. If I hadn't checked around, I might have really driven on the road with this. It's hard to say if I could survive then. This is not only about seeking money. I think it's about harming lives. I directly called the police. The police retrieved the surveillance video. It was found that it was done by some small gangsters in society. The police immediately invited them to the bureau for tea. Several of us sat together. Those small gangsters shouted loudly, "I don't know her. Why did you arrest me here?" The police showed the photos of my tires. And they did react. This tire was indeed done by us. A little girl borrowed money from us and said that this car owner has money to pay us back. I was stunned. Why should I pay back the usurious loan borrowed by others? Suddenly, the incident of my niece borrowing money from me last time flashed through my mind. The small gangsters took out their mobile phones and handed them to me. "This is the person. She said that you will pay back the money for her." When I saw it, it was my niece. Oh, she is really an ungrateful person. She borrowed usurious loans and couldn't pay them back. So she wanted me to pay for her. I don't know what kind of dream she is having. I don't know how my elder brother and sister-in-law would feel if they knew that their daughter raised in affluence had become like this. The small gangsters were all locked up. I believe that they would not dare to harass me again after they came out. I exposed on the confession wall of their school the incident that my niece was willing to borrow usurious loans to buy luxury goods. When I went to their school to give a lecture, I happened to hear many students discussing this matter. Since she was a child, she always hoped to be better than others and always told her classmates how rich her family was. Now that the mask of the rich girl has been taken off, I don't know how she will feel. Will she go crazy like when she was a child? Things are just as I thought. She called me crazily. I didn't answer any of them. She then started to send me WeChat messages frantically. "Did you do the thing on the confession wall? I just borrowed some money from you. Is it necessary? How could I have a family member like you who deliberately spreads rumors? Do you know that you will commit a crime like this? I will sue you." Looking at the constantly lit screen of my mobile phone, I directly laughed. "You still want to sue me? I haven't even investigated your matter of asking the small gangsters to trouble me. Instead, you are accusing me first." After those small gangsters came out, they called me again. I thought they still didn't learn their lesson. But unexpectedly, they apologized to me and said that the money had been paid back. 6. I was full of doubts. Just as I was about to ask my elder brother, he called me just in time. As soon as I answered the call, he was crying. Maybe it was because he knew his daughter had borrowed usurious loans and was sad. I comforted him. "Brother, don't cry. I know everything." My elder brother asked me in confusion, "Do you know that your sister-in-law has cancer?" I was stunned for a moment. My elder brother cried again. "It's all my fault. Your sister-in-law has suffered with me." While comforting him, I rushed to the hospital. My sister-in-law was lying sickly on the hospital bed. My elder brother's eyes were red from crying. When he saw me, he kept crying. "What should we do? How could this happen?" I looked through the doctor's diagnosis. Hepatocellular carcinoma was clearly written on it. Presumably, it was caused by liver key stagnation and frequent outbursts of temper. I sighed. What did the doctor say? He was still crying. The doctor said that almost half of the liver needs to be removed to have a chance of survival. I nodded and patted my elder brother on the shoulder. "This is still hopeful. Don't give up." My elder brother was in tears. But the medical expenses. Most of the money in these years has been spent on Quinn. I haven't saved much. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have listened to that raising in affluence at the beginning. It's all nonsense. Raising in affluence is fundamentally not this kind of taking everything you want. Alas, you deserve it. You pretended to be rich and now you have no money. When you have no money, you know you were wrong. But what's the use now? Clearly. I also advised you in my previous life. But what kind of end did I come to in the end? How much money is still lacking? My elder brother lowered his head and his voice was like a mosquito. It's about 200,000 short. I opened my mobile phone and transferred 100,000 to him. Brother, I haven't saved much money these years. Use this money first. We'll figure out the rest. I had a sudden inspiration and thought of my niece's luxury bags. Recycling them could also exchange for some money. And there are so many clothes. We can always gather 100,000. So I immediately went home with my elder brother to convert those things into cash. After gathering enough money, we went back to the hospital to discuss the surgery. Everything was settled. But when we went to pay the fee, it showed insufficient balance. My elder brother panicked immediately. How could there be insufficient balance? The two of us ran to the bank to check the transaction records. Only then did we know that there was only the more than 200,000, and we had gathered today in the card. All the original money in the card had been spent. My elder brother looked at the transaction details and muttered to himself, "Impossible. Impossible. How could this happen?" I took a look. There was a large transaction on it. 180,000. I always felt that this matter was not simple. Brother, who else knows about this card of yours? Who is most likely to get this card of yours and also know your password? My elder brother thought for a while. His eyes suddenly dimmed. My daughter asked for this card a few days ago. The bad premonition in my heart became stronger and stronger. My elder brother picked up his mobile phone and directly called his niece. "Quinn, did you touch the money on Dad's card?" Quinn's calm voice came from the phone. "No." "What's wrong?" My elder brother's expression became strange. 18,000 on my card is gone. She was still pretending to be stupid. "Dad, were you scammed?" I raised my voice. "Stop talking nonsense. The calls for you to pay back the usurious loan came to me a few days ago. And a group of small gangsters harassed me all day. Later, I don't know why, but you suddenly paid back that money again. When you wanted to borrow money from me, it was 150,000. What does a little girl need so much money for?" My elder brother looked at me hopelessly. "Is what you said true?" Quinn shouted on the phone. "Stop sowing discord. There is no such thing at all." I continued to confront her. "Dare you go to the police station and confront each other face to face? Your mom has cancer and urgently needs this money for surgery." She snorted coldly. "What does it have to do with me? It's not me who dies." I loudly questioned her. "Did you take the money on your dad's card? We have already sold your luxury goods to gather medical expenses for your mom. If you still have a conscience, tell the truth." She was obviously a bit flustered. "What did you sell of mine?" "I see if you dare." I snorted coldly. "What's there to not dare? It's all sold." She hung up the phone with a snap. Half an hour later, she called me again. "You bitch. You actually dared to sell my bag. Why don't you all die quickly? And that old woman. You actually sold my bag for her. Are you crazy?" I continued to ask her, "Is the money on your dad's card taken by you?" She shouted crazily, "Yes. I took it." "So what? That money should have been given to me. Is there any problem if I spend it in advance?" After hearing this, my elder brother collapsed to the ground directly. How could I have raised such a daughter? I patted him. "It's okay. Quinn should still have a few luxury items there. We'll take them and sell them later. If it's not enough, we'll borrow again. We can always have the surgery." Quinn was screaming crazily on the other end. "I see who dares." We ignored her and went straight to his house. When we arrived at my niece's bedroom, all the luxury items inside were emptied. I asked my elder brother to go back to the hospital first. "I'll gather the money." As soon as my elder brother arrived at the hospital, he called me again. "There's no need to gather money. Your sister-in-law is gone." I was stunned. "What did you say?" My elder brother let out a mournful cry. Your sister-in-law was stabbed to death randomly by Quinn. I was silent. The boomerang of fate hit my sister-in-law right between the eyebrows. Quinn was quickly arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment. My elder brother also instantly aged a lot. All the people he loved the most left him. Overwhelmed. He finally chose to jump off a building. When I went to see my niece in prison, when she saw me, she was still constantly cursing, "All of you should die." I said calmly, "Your dad is dead." She was stunned for a while and then laughed loudly, "Good death. All of you should serve me. I should be the one held in the palm of everyone's hands." I shook my head. "I'm afraid there is no hope." I heard that she couldn't stand the life in prison. She who was once surrounded by everyone now is like a rat crossing the street and everyone shouts and beats her. Soon she went crazy and ended her life in prison. I sold all the remaining luxury items of hers. In this life, I won. Daughters should be raised in affluence. But it is not only material affluence but also spiritual support. Let her know that she will always have her family behind her.